do you think about the whole distance debate? And it's come up on a couple of the interviews we've done so far about Paraparaumu being obsolete because it's too short. I mean, I've seen Ernie Els shoot 60 around Royal Melbourne, and that's 400 metres long of it.
I'm just trying to find a quote. I'm digging up quotes of. I can't. No, I'm not going to find it. But it was a Tom Weiskopf quote from 1990, saying how it was just ridiculous how far the ball goes, and that was 1990. I mean, now it's completely crazy how far the ball goes. USJ completely lost control of the ball. They lost control of the driver head, which meant you could make light, big-headed drivers, which meant you could make and you could put 45-inch graphite shafts. Clubs with virtually no sweet spot. You hit them all over the face. So in the hands of modern young players, they're hitting the ball crazy how far the ball goes. I mean, there are 5 women on the LPGA Tour who averaged longer than Greg Norman did at his best. So don't tell me they're better athletes than Greg Norman. So, of course, every great course in Australia and New Zealand is obsolete. But they're obsolete not for the members. They're obsolete for the best players in the world. If the measure if the measure is how Alec Russell and Alistair Mackenzie saw those courses playing. So he saw that, the 6th at Royal Melbourne, the great par 4. I'm sure Mackenzie saw that hole as being a rip across the bunkers and a 5-iron shot. He didn't see it as being a 2-iron across the bunkers and a wedge shot. Yeah. So if you think that hole playing as 2-iron wedge, which is what it was in the President's Cup, if you see Mackenzie design that hole around being a drive and a 5-iron, if you think that being turned into a 2-iron wedge hole makes it obsolete, then yeah, it's obsolete in terms of how Mackenzie saw it playing. So they're all obsolete, but they're not obsolete in terms of, they're still great pieces of design. They're just obsolete for how great players play those courses if the measure is how the designers saw them playing. So Mackenzie, of course, was designing for hickory shafts. So those courses got stretched back. I mean, Royal Melbourne was probably 6,500 yards when he built it. So, it's been stretched back over time. And to deal with better golf balls and steel shafts and better clubs that happened, post 1930. But now we're in danger of obsoleting a whole nother lot of golf courses with the modern stuff. In fact, we've done it already. So, courses in New Zealand and Australia don't have the room that Augusta has, or the money that those clubs in America have, where they just keep stretching further and further back. Or they're great clubs that don't care because they don't hold pro golf, like Crystal Downs or National Golfing, so places like that don't care about pro golf, who don't have to, Pine Valley, who don't have to measure themselves out for pro golf. But the difference in Australia and New Zealand golf is that all our championship golf courses all our best golf courses hold championship golf. New Zealand, state amateurs, national amateurs, pro tournaments. So not that we've got that many left, but our best courses all want to have tournaments. But you watch how Royal Melbourne or Kingston Heath or Metro Victoria play now, then they're obsolete. But they're not obsolete in the sense that they're still great bits of golf architecture. They're obsolete in the face of equipment that Mackenzie and Russell never envisaged being invented, let alone legalised. I mean, if Mackenzie came back now, he'd just go to the R&A and just tear their heads off. Like, didn't you guys read my book? What are you doing? Fix it up. That's what you're. Now, their job was and was to protect the integrity of golf courses and to protect the skill it took to play the game. And they've completely failed in both. I mean, they've come out now with a paper basically agreeing with everything that John Huggan and me and everyone else has been, Nicholas and Weiskopf and Nick Price and Jeff Shackelford and Tom Doak and Gil Hansen, everyone else has been banging on for 20 years. and they've been pushing back, arguing we're wrong, outdated, just old fuddy days who are living in the past. Of course, they've come out now with a paper that says, yeah, you guys are actually right. Well, hello, Weiskopf was bang on about it 30 years ago because he could see what was coming.
Now,
but I don't think anyone ever imagined the state it would get to now when there were 80 players averaging over 300 yards on the PGA Tour. I mean, we all saw Greg play. I mean, Greg was phenomenal. He averaged 280 yards, 285 yards in the mid 80s. I mean, that's Zach Blair territory now.
And now, Mike, we've discussed, obviously, we just discussed equipment. We've discussed some course setup. I'm a little bit nervous about asking this next question because I know as a golf club, we're fiercely protective of what we've got, and I believe it's really strong bones. As a course designer, however, looking at Paraparaumu Beach, is there anything that you would change, or is there anything that stands out for you that you would not necessarily change, but add, improve?
Well, the mowing line's the obvious thing. I mean, I haven't seen a course for a long time now, but I would always, my memory of it was that I would have the fairways much wider than they are, where you can. But I know you're working on that. I never loved 14 much. I mean, obviously that wasn't a Russell original hole. It's nowhere near as good as the other three par threes, which are great holes. I mean, 2, 5, and 16. If you took the 4 par threes as a set at Paraparaumu and put them in Australia, there'd be a good argument to say they were the best set of par threes in Australia. They'd be certainly in the best 3 or 4 with Royal Melbourne, Kingston Heath, Victoria, Barnbougle probably. What else? Now, I've seen Russell's original drawing for the 12th hole where it kind of went to the right and went through the sand dunes down the right. I looked at that with Greg and probably you at one point. I think that'd be a great hole to try and get built there.
Yeah, the channel hole, I think it's described as in architectural terms.
So, but this is nitpicking. These are little details. I mean, mowing lines are easy. 14's not a patch on the other par threes, but it's a pity I never saw Russell's 14th hole, but it was a pity they had to change it. My guess is it was a pity they had to change it.
Yeah.
And, maybe see what you could do with 12 because it's probably the least interesting hole. But it's such a great course that so much of that place is preserving what you've got. Because the good thing about that course, as opposed to lots of the best sandbelt courses, you never had to deal with years of, as Mackenzie would have described it, misguided tree planting. The tree planting on the sandbelt was atrocious after the war, and we've spent a couple of decades at Victoria, Kingston Heath, Peninsula, which was actually the best of them, pulling down trees that should never have been planted. So both the wrong species and in the wrong places. So and too many of them. So that was never an issue at Paraparaumu. Really was. I mean, I guess you had to deal with those pine trees they planted, but there were never trees that interfered with the golf at Paraparaumu. So that was a huge advantage you had over the sandbelt, where, as I said, we were dealing with the post-war disaster of committee-inspired tree planting.
I mean, you've discussed a number of holes. So look, we're getting towards the back end of the interview, and I normally ask what your favourite hole is and why that might be. You may have already covered that off, or you may not have, but feel free to share with us your favourite hole.
Well, if you look at, I play at Metro in Melbourne, which most people, if they were to judge Metro and Paraparaumu, most people in Australia would, I don't know, they'll probably think Metro was a better course. And I love Metro. I've been a member there for 45 years. I love it. It's a great place, a great club, lots of great friends there. But it's built on an incredibly uninteresting piece of land. And its strength is the sum of its parts. But there's not one world-class hole at Metro, not one hole that you would put in terms of this is a world-class hole. So the strength of that course, and even Kingston Heath, which has probably got 1 or 2 world-class holes, is the sum of the parts, the great routing, great bunkering, great greens, great strategies, beautiful walks, all that stuff. But if you look at Paraparam, it's probably got, I don't know, 6 or 8 world-class holes. I mean, 3, 5, 13, 15, 16, 17. You could put those holes up against anything in the world. I mean, I know that I could bring Ben Crenshaw and Bill Court to Paraparam and Metro, and they would both be gushing in their praise of both courses. But if you honestly sat them down, and they would never give you an honest answer because they're too honest and too nice. But if you said, okay, list the world-class holes at Metro and Paraparam, there'd be 6 or 8 at Paraparam and probably none at Metro, which is not a knock on, people will take that as, what's a knock on Metro? No, it's not. It's almost in praise of Metro because its strength is, as I said, the sum of its parts. The way that those holes fit together make for a fantastic golf course. But Paraparam is ultimately a better golf course because it's on a better land. And Russell did a great job in using that better land, which allowed him to build world-class holes. So 17 is probably the best of them, but you could put that 17th hole at Paraparam on any list of great holes in the world, and there's not one person would disagree that it wasn't amongst the best holes in the world. So Russell had the good fortune of getting a much more interesting piece of property than almost any course on the Sandbelt had, except for Royal Melbourne and probably Peninsula. But, Metro, Kingston Heath, Victoria, the back 9 Victoria is pretty good. The front 9 is not that great. Huntingdale, Colmouth, Yarra Yarra. The strength of those golf courses was that they made the most of what they had. But it wasn't, one thing they didn't have was really interesting land. And Russell had that in abundance at Paraparam. So, if you looked at the least good hole, it's probably the 12th. It's probably on the least interesting piece of land.
Yeah, it is.
Correct?
Yeah, flat piece of land down the side of the road.
It's probably the dullest, flattest piece of land on the whole place. So consequently, it's the dullest, least interesting hole in the golf course. Not that it's a bad hole. It just happens to be.
And it's interesting. Russell's design actually takes in some of the more interesting land just to the right of that fairway, as it threads between the dunes and heads over towards 17, and then darts back on an angle over to the current green. So you're right.
I can remember looking at that hole with Greg Turner, thinking that wouldn't be that. It's not that hard to put that hole back. Well, not put it back, but to build that hole. Excuse me. So, if you're looking at doing something there, that would be one thing that'd be worth looking at. But the members over time have been pretty good custodians of that place. I would have thought.
Well, it's superb, and I've worked at a number of courses, but I'll have to say about Paraparaumu Beach's members is they're pretty educated when it comes to golf. They know exactly what the course is and what it should be and how it should be set up. And as a result, it's been relatively straightforward to be, to work in that environment. It's been good.
Yeah, Russell did an amazing job. And it's still, I don't know where it is, whether it's in the top 100 in the world or not now, but it's
yeah. So of course, it depends what list, but it has come back into the top 100 on several lists. Yeah.
Yeah, the best list is the Golf Magazine or golf.com, Golf Magazine, whatever you want to call it. It's probably on the edge of the top 100 there, but look at how much better the top 100 list is now than it was 30 years ago. How many great new courses have been built since then? So for Paraparam to hang in there on the edge of the top 100, it's an amazing effort, really. But it's not an amazing effort. It's testament to how good a course it is. You look at all the great courses that have been built at Bandon, Cape Kidnappers, Tariti, the 2 courses at Barnbougle, Castle Stewart. There have been so many brilliant courses built in the last 30 years, so that a course that was top 100 in 1980, that's equivalent of top 150 at least now. It's as hard to make the top 150 now as it was to make the top 100 then. It's probably a better way to put it. So, it's a tremendous golf course.
Hey, how do you see, post COVID-19? What kind of opportunities do you see for golf? And obviously society is going to be dialed back to a certain extent. With around sustained social distancing, et cetera, et cetera. So I mean, how do you see golf being positioned post all this?
It's tricky. Who knows what's going to happen to people's incomes, really. So people are going to rejoin golf clubs or join golf clubs. I mean, Power Pram at $1,500 a year is the best value golf in the world. So there's not a member there who's got an excuse not to pay their membership fees. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Melbourne's got certainly the demand for golf is the supply exceeds the demand in Melbourne. So the second tier sandbelt courses, which are tremendous courses, places like Spring Valley, brilliant courses. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they come back, what they do. The Spring Valley was struggling before this, so who knows what happens to it? Whether all the members rejoin, whether they can't sell it because it's there's a tip next to it, and so the land they can't ever sell the land. So does it come back as it was? Does it come back as a public course? Does it come back as a semi-private public course? Who knows what happens? But you assume that the clubs lower down the pecking order all around the world are going to struggle because members are going to struggle to pay fees.
What's
But no one knows how it's going to play out really. In Melbourne, if you lost a few clubs, honestly, it mightn't be the worst thing because it would, in theory, farm the members out into the surviving clubs and make them stronger. So, it's yet to play out. Who knows what happens to the Pro Tour? I think the Pro Tour is going to look a whole lot different all around the world. What happens to the European Tour? What happens to the US Tour? It's hard to imagine that the US Tour just starting up and playing for $10 million every week again, as they do now. So that's going to be, I think we're all guessing at this point. But the important thing for the game is to make sure that the best golf courses survive, and you don't lose great courses out of this. So, and members have got to support their clubs and pay their fees and make sure they keep going. Because if they don't, they'll go away.
Mike, one of your latest projects has been Peninsula Kingswood, which was exactly that, a merging of two clubs, sharing of resources and the selling of one plot of land to put into the other plot of land. I'll be fortunate to go there. It's incredible what's been created there. I mean, it's honestly on another level. We've been very fortunate as a club with, I guess, your influence and assistance there is to take them on board as a reciprocal. It's a newish reciprocal. Obviously, Borders going to be shut down for a little while now, but it's a place that I can obviously see our members thoroughly enjoying over the next 10, 15, 20 years, however long they retain their memberships.
Well, it's a great deal for both clubs because Power Pram's a great place for Peninsula members to go and play there. But so I mean that's what a great reciprocal is that it's a great deal for both clubs. So you're right. I mean, Peninsula's an amazing place for you can stay at the golf course, 36 holes, great practice fairway. So and two tremendous golf courses. So it'll be a great deal for your members, but it works both ways. But it's a great thing about golf in Australia that there are great interstate reciprocal arrangements for clubs all over the country. So it works really well. So I mean it's a perfect deal for your members.
Hey Mike, it's always good to talk. It's been a wonderful insight both into your early years and your playing career, your memories here at Paraparamu Beach, your extraordinary memory for the course, and your thoughts on course setup, design principles, a couple of those quotes. I've really enjoyed having a chat to you. Thank you so much for sharing some of those thoughts. And Mike, as always, I think you said it's been a while since you played us. I think it might have been 2004 perhaps. So you're well overdue for a visit to us. And certainly I'd love to have a walk around the place and perhaps we walk some of that land down between the 12th and the 17th. But it'll be great to welcome you back again. Yeah,
well, I'm well overdue, and I'll be back. Well, probably not this year, but hopefully next year. So I certainly look forward to catching up with you and the members and the golf course. So let's make a date of that and ensure we do it.
Mike, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much and take care during this period.
Thanks, Leo. Thanks, mate.